The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned.
Hey there folks, Blackhawk here. Today just going to do a quick video, nothing too real in-depth or crazy, but just want to go over a couple little tricks that I've used. Obviously I haven't been doing this forever, I'm not a master builder, but just in my attempts to do clean builds, something that looks real, pleasing to the eyes, not just a ball of wires, a bird's nest. Just a couple tricks that I've used, or found or learned from working with JJ RotoGeek, things like that, that have helped me do some of my builds. And I just want to share a couple of those things. Like I said, it's not a whole lot. I'm not, some guy that's been doing it 20 plus years, so I don't have a whole lot, but anything that I might have that I could share that might be able to help somebody else out, definitely want to do so. So this is one of the cleaner builds that I've done. It is a Tomo Quads X Fighter frame, and obviously your normal components, but one thing that I want to start off by saying, if you're going to do a clean build, you want to do like what JJ RotoGeek calls a gallery build, something that is really it's a model. Basically you have this thing on a shelf, you don't fly it all the time, right? You might fly it all the time, who cares, but this is something that someone comes in and says, holy shit, look at that bird. One thing that I would recommend if you're doing that kind of build, use an all-in-one. Use like a flight controller ESC combo and all-in-one, or a stack all-in-one, something like this here where you have everything pinned together. It just helps make the build a lot cleaner. You don't have as many solder joints. You don't have a lot of boards all over the place, kind of like a normal build like this. You don't have ESCs on the arms, things like that. It just looks cleaner. So if you're going for a clean build, you want this thing in a poster, on a poster, in a calendar, that's what you want to do. My recommendation. Performance-wise, I would prefer bullets. If you blow one, you can replace one. You blow a stack, you got to replace a stack or at least a full board, which can be kind of a pain in the ass. You got to disassemble the whole thing. A bullet ESC, I undo a few solder joints, pop a new one on, redo them, you're good to go. But yeah, so in a clean build, look for a stack, look for an all-in-one. It will help you knock down a lot of your solder connections, and it will look a lot better. Other than that, also want to mention, when you're doing solder connections, try and solder to the inside of the board. What I mean by soldering to the inside of the board, I don't know if you guys can see it here, but all the ESC wires are soldered from the inside. So basically, the solder joint is on the pad, but the wire does not come out of the board. It goes towards the center of the board and then comes back out. And that it gives a lot cleaner look, as you can see, but not only that, but it allows you to not have a whole lot, in a lot of cases anyways, allows you to not have to put real sharp bends and turns on your solder connections. You can take a nice easy loop around on the inside of the board, smush it together in the stack like I've done here, something similar, and it looks a lot cleaner. And it's not as stressful on your connections. So we've got just a demo board here. Thank you, JJ RotoGeek. And I'm just going to do a couple of wires on this, show you guys what I mean. And this board, the way it's set up, you can't really fight yourself a whole lot on it, but there you go, we'll use that. Say you're using something like this, an omnibus, or any other board where you have multiple holes next to each other, multiple pads next to each other. Don't fight yourself. Don't work against yourself, guys. Do what's easiest. Don't make a solder connection out here and then have to make this one last on the inside here, to where you have to, go up and stand on your head and do a cartwheel and, get all that just to get your iron in there. Work with yourself, think ahead a little bit. So, maybe start on the inside and work your way out, so you have plenty of room for your iron to get in there. Just little things like that will help you a lot. Dry fit is always recommended. Definitely I do probably too many dry fits. I'll change my mind. I'll sit here with a drink and spend probably half an hour dry fitting, thinking how I'm going to put something together. When you're doing a build like this, a gallery or something like that, it really helps to go from, I don't really want to say an engineering standpoint, because I'm no damn engineer by any fucking means of the sense of the word, but you know, kind of think of it like you're an engineer, your attempt to be, you know, think of it like you're actually building a building, or building something that is meant to be, meant to last, meant to stay strong for, you know, 20, 30,000 years. You know, you want this thing to be able to take a fucking beating. So you want to build it in the most sensible, logical, strongest, durable, all that bullshit way. So take some time, plan it out, think it out, do as many dry fits as you need to do before you actually start assembling this thing. It will help you. Back to the solder. As I said, solder your wires to the inside of the boards. So just a couple wires here, nothing crazy. And guys, work with yourselves too. Don't be afraid to bend the wires. Like that one there had a, you know, real crazy bend on the end of it. Instead of trying to go like that and fight, just don't be stubborn. But you know how us guys are. We are stubborn sons of bitches. But don't be stubborn. Don't fight yourself. Don't make it harder than it needs to be on yourself. You will be thankful in the end. So now we've got the 2 wires soldered to the inside of the board like that, and now we can bend them and bring them down where we want them, and that looks nice and clean. And then if we even filled up all the way up there, it would continue that look. And then if you really wanted, if all these wires were going to the same area, something like that, you can even go as far as twisting them together, throwing a little heat shrink on. Now you'll notice when I'm twisting here, guys, put your thumb or do something to brace the base where the solder joints are, to where you're not twisting on the solder joints. Put some pressure there. That way all of your twisting motion is pinched off right here. It does not transfer over to your pads on your board or your solder joints. But if you want to twist it, you can twist it. You can throw some heat shrink on there, make it look all nice and fancy, whatever you want to do. So work with yourself there. That'll help. Solder to the inside of the board. That'll help with the look. And then staying on the twisting subject, which I don't know if a lot of you guys do or not, but I twist all my wires. And it may not make a whole lot of a difference, but in my opinion, any little bit helps. And if taking an extra second to twist my wires helps even a little bit of noise in my system, I'm going to do it. Because it's not like I'm spending any money. It's not like I'm killing myself to do it. It's one extra step. It looks good. And if it actually helps performance, even a little bit, why not do it? It's easy. So twist your wires if you want. But this will also help, like you see in the Tomo Quads build. I did not have to do anything to mount these motor wires down. They are free, but they are so stiff because of the heat shrink and the twist, and the way I'm going to show you in a second how you do that, that you don't need anything to hold that down. That's not coming up into a propeller. So you can help knock out some of your mounting applications like that. Maybe not in all big birds, but especially in the micros, you can help knock out some of you know, your tapes and zip ties and stuff like that. But back to the twist. Everybody do the twist. But like I said on the board, brace the base. Do not just start twisting here, because you're going to end up putting a lot of strain and a lot of pressure on the solder, on the actual connections where the wires connect to the windings, and you could end up popping one, which if you really want to get adventurous, pull this thing apart and remake the connection, you can, but it's just that much more a pain in the ass. Put your thumb there, put a little bit of pressure on it. Straighten your wires out to where they're all side by side like that. Start at one end and give it a twist. And just slowly go down. Keep the wires side by side the whole way. And that way it all comes out nice and clean. Bam. Look at that shit. Yeah, Jay. Stole your bam again. Man, I'm telling you, by the time Emerald finds all these videos with the BAMs in them, we're fucked. I mean, he's already good to go money-wise, but you know, he might be able to take care of his future generations off of what we're going to owe him. But anyways, there it is. Bam. Nice little twist. Now, you don't want to go too much of a twist here. I actually did that on this build. I'm not crazy about it. When you go too tight, it almost looks crinkled. It doesn't look as clean. You want to keep it a little looser of a twist. So what I mean by too tight is that right there. I mean, it doesn't look bad right there, but when you get it in heat shrink and you get the heat shrink on it, it just doesn't look as defined and as distinct or as distinguished. So just let it relax a little bit and let the curves or the actual twist part release just a hair, and it'll actually give it a more defined look. So another tip, use as small a heat shrink as you can get on this. That is just going to help with the definition of the twist once you get it on. I didn't do that here because you might end up fighting it a little bit. Oh, another trick. Thank you, JJ Rotogeek. He actually showed me this the other day. And I wasn't even thinking about it, but take your heat shrink. If you're using really tight heat shrink, you know, you're right on the border, you can barely get it on there. Take your heat shrink and kind of warm it up in your fingers like this. All right. And give it a little stretch. Now, don't stretch it too much. You may if you go Hercules on it, you will tear it, but just give it a little stretch. And that will help you at least get the little bit of extra space you need to get that heat shrink on there before you shrink it down. And it's not going to affect the actual look once you do the shrink technique. I always use lighter. A lot of you guys may use heat gun. Heat gun is not a bad idea, especially if you're doing this on the bird. You don't want to be holding a lighter really next to the carbon, probably. At least not for very long. So heat gun, that's completely up to you guys. I'm whatever, I'm cheap. But I always get my heat shrink down over the actual heat shrink for the windings, for the wire, the connection there, and that makes it look that much neater. Now, when you do this, guys, what you want to do is back it off just a hair. So loosen this up. You normally want it about here. Go ahead and let it loosen up just a hair even more. Okay, and there's a reason to that. Go ahead and heat it up. And when you're using a lighter, you want to use the tip of the lighter, the tip of the flame. That way you're not charring it and getting a bunch of black gook on it. And that is the hottest point of the flame as well. So go ahead and do that. If I wasn't breathing everywhere all over it, it wouldn't be flickering like that. And then give it the twist you want it. Tighten it up just a little bit. I lick my finger. You can use an ice cube, whatever you want to do, and cool it down quickly. Now that flash, I'm not going to call it a freeze by any means, but that flash cool down right there just helps it harden in place a lot quicker, and it keeps that definition. So as you can see, if we had this heat shrink the whole way, you would be able to see that nice twist the whole way. It starts right here where I had my pinch. I had the wires coming out, and then you can see the first couple turns starting in there. I just didn't use a real big piece of heat shrink, but yeah, so you want to kind of start it just a little loose when you actually put your heat to it, and then after the heat's applied, you twist with it still hot, and then use an ice cube, lick your finger, something like that, to go over it real quick and cool it off that much faster, and it will hold and form to that wire, that shape, that much stronger. So just a little trick there, guys, with the heat shrink, something maybe to help you out on that end. I really don't have a whole lot of other I would say tricks. Plan out your colors for sure. This is kind of a hodgepodge. I wasn't planning on using these. I actually had black motor mounts on here, which looked a little bit better, but I'm going to actually put them on my second build here and have this actually completely blacked out. So I switched them over with the neon greens that were originally with the other frame. But yeah, plan out your colors. That's going to help. As you can see, I tried to stick with the blues and the yellows here. I thought that was kind of they compensated each other in kind of a bright way. If this thing goes down in the middle of a field, you should be able to find it hopefully a little bit better. Things like that. You know, think about your color schemes and all that. See what you can get. See what's available. And also, again, just keep your wiring as tucked in, twisted, and together as possible. You don't want a bunch of wires just running everywhere. Keep it nice and neat. As you can see, the wires for the receiver for the radio are heat shrinked as well, and then the wires that are running back to the camera are heat shrinked. You can see pretty much everything in here is heat shrunk, and that is just to keep everything bundled and tighter together. As you can see here as well, the wires are ran through the sides of the stack and then up and soldered, as we were doing here with this, are soldered from the inside. And that keeps a nice uniform look. You see one large wire going in, and that's all you see. You don't see 3 wires going up to here and making 3 different connections. You don't see that stuff. So that just helps appeal more aesthetically to the eye. So again, if you're looking to do a clean build, what I would recommend, watch people do builds. Watch people that have done this for a while or done some sort of this for a while. Go out, watch their videos, shoot them some messages. Don't be afraid to make contact with them and ask them some questions. A lot of the people in this hobby I have found are beyond helpful, beyond willing to help, great people, and they're there for advice and for technical support if and when you need it. So don't be afraid to shoot a message out there, reach out if you're in need of help, and you'd probably be amazed at the response that you get. So thanks guys for watching. Hope something here helped you guys. Oh, one other thing real quick. Jay did this the other day. I want to talk about it real quick. Heat shrink your batteries. And don't necessarily have to do heat shrink. I've heard of guys doing rubber inner tubes, tire tubes, which that's cool too, but this was really freaking easy. I mean, this was stupid easy. It's literally just big ass heat shrink. I forget what the actual size of it is. It doesn't say it on there. Yeah, it doesn't say it on there. I forget what the actual size of it is, but if you're curious, shoot me a message and I'll find that out for you. But get you some big ass heat shrink. Put it on your batteries, and it not only looks clean, but it's going to help protect them. I mean, that is thick. That is some thick stuff. And if you come in, if you have a bottom mount, you're not running a top loader, you're doing a lot of parking lot landings, things like that. You fly like I do, where landings for pussies. This is going to help save your batteries. So just a little tip there, not necessarily going with, I mean, it kind of helps with the cleanliness build a little, but you don't usually see a battery on a gallery build. But this is going to help you. It does look clean when it's flying, but this is going to help protect your batteries. It's going to help longevity. But yeah, just a little quick thing there I did want to mention. Yeah, other than that, guys, hope you guys, were able to take away something today. Hope this helps somebody out there somewhere in some way. So thanks, guys, for watching, and until next time, we'll catch you later. Wait. Hang on. One other thing. Forgot to mention it. And this is another JJ Roto Geek tip. Thank you, Jay. But when you are doing your antennas, obviously you want to heat shrink them. The trick I showed just a little bit ago with using an ice cube or something to cool it off quickly is going to help give it this rigidity. It's going to keep it stiff. Better than Viagra there, guys. The other trick that you want to do here, all right, now this is this VTX in particular is the VTX03. And it's got the little plug on the end of it where you can actually pull this off, put the adapter on, put your Pagoda, whatever you may have on there. What you want to do, get a large enough amount of heat shrink to where it'll fit over the little part of the board. As you can see, there's little angles, little corners there. That's because the board sticks out a little bit where that plug actually is. So get you a piece of heat shrink that's going to slide over that little peg, that little board piece that sticks out there as well. The reason being is what you want to do is you want to get yourself a good size, get your hot glue gun stupid hot. I mean, you want it like, devil's breath fucking hot. You want it stupid hot. Put your glob right there. Slide your heat shrink down on it. As soon as that heat shrink hits that glob of hot glue, The heat will pull the heat shrink in. That hot glue will harden around that plug. You're never getting that fucker off. That is on there. This thing is not coming off. And then you can go ahead and take your lighter, your heat gun to the rest of the heat shrink that's on there. As you can see, I used one big piece on the outside. I used another smaller piece on the inside. But nonetheless, do the hot glue trick. That will keep your antenna from getting ripped off in a crash, things like that, coming, maybe a little loose, and then you get, a few hundred feet out there, and it comes all the way loose, and you lose the bastard. This is going to help. So, quick tip, one last one. Sorry, guys, for the little interruption. I know you thought you were done with me, but hot glue your fucking antennas to your boards with the heat shrink like that. Bam. Thanks, guys. Hang on. If you have a board like this one here that does not have the little peg, I'm not done here, but you still want to put some hot glue and some heat shrink if you can, get it down over that. It will help hold. If you have some, nice epoxy or two-part adhesive, whatever, that also will work around this connection if you don't have that nice little peg sticking out there. But this is a receiver board. This is not your VTX. Not quite the same thing, but yeah, if you have a VTX or a board that does not have the little peg, the little piece of the board sticking out where you can slide that over, still get you some hot glue or some sort of adhesive on there to hold that antenna to that board. That is going to help you, especially if you're planning on flying this thing. All right, thanks, guys. Last little tip. Take care. Catch you next time.
Mittens?